Another mass shooting in America. Probably by the time anyone's watching this, we've probably had four or five more. Look at the numbers today. We're up to like 560 some for the year. But the one I'm specifically talking about is the one that took place in Maine over the last few days. Absolutely horrible situation. But when we start looking at this case particularly and we start breaking down the details of who did this, why did they do this, uh, you're never really going to get many answers as far as making sense of motive, because this is madness for someone to do this. What I want to look more at is, how did we get here with this person, and how did this person slip through the cracks of the very not sturdy system we have of letting people like this be out there in society. We had a lot of warning signs here. By all accounts and measures, this person should not have had a gun, should not have been able to do this sort of crime or perpetrate this sort of crime. Made threats on a National Guard base to shoot it up, was in a mental institution for 2 weeks this summer, talked about hearing voices, and yet he still had all of his guns and was able to go out and do what he did. Joining me to discuss the legal end of this, Neama Rahmani, former federal prosecutor. When you look at this and all of these holes that he seemed to be able to slip through, what are you thinking?
Tony, it's tough. I do a lot of TV interviews all around the world, and when I do interviews with folks outside the United States, they always ask me, "How is it possible that someone, regardless of their mental health issues, why do they need an AR-15?" And I know we're, kind of going down the road of politics, but you know, obviously we have a lot of mass shootings in this country, and the AR-15 seems to be the gun of choice for mass shooters. Maine had no assault weapons ban. There is no assault weapons ban federally. Even in my home state of California, where there was an assault weapons ban, just a little over a week ago, a federal judge struck that down as unconstitutional. So, we do have the Second Amendment, and the gun lobby is very strong. And I wish I had an answer. I feel like this is one of those Israel Palestine situations that we're just going to keep talking about it over and over again.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what we say. I just don't see things changing, unfortunately.
No, and I don't even see it so much being about the guns anymore. I mean, if they didn't have that weapon, they get another one. Certainly, there's arguments to be made of what's more powerful and this or that, but I'm not even going down there. What I'm wondering more about is making the threats against the National Guard base, being in a mental health facility for 2 months in the summer, and still having access to weapons. Is this something, number one, why were they not taken away? Clearly, this is something that this man does as a weapons specialist and trainer. But when you have these sort of circumstances come into one's life, is it voluntary then to give up your weapons? Is it just, well, I should do the right thing now, and legally maybe he has to? I don't know what the laws are in Maine for something like this, but if you are still allowed to possess a firearm after checking those two boxes over the summer, that doesn't seem remotely sane.
Not at all. And obviously, setting aside the gun issue, I mean, mental health is a significant problem in this country. A lot of the cases that we discuss here on the show, we're discussing because someone has a mental health problem and
Mhm.
that caused them to kill someone. Sometimes there's other types of motive as well, but why would someone walk into a bowling alley and shoot and kill innocent people? There's no political reason, there's no financial motive, there's no romantic relationship. It's clearly someone who's sick. And, you know, I agree. We're talking about a public health issue as well as a criminal justice one. So I wish I had the answer, Tony. I just
Yeah,
don't. And I'm afraid that this is something, unfortunately, that just is just far too common, even though this is probably, I think, one of the top 10 deadliest shootings in American history.
it is. It certainly ranks up there. And as far as I know, as of right now, I believe it's the largest in the year for the United States. Who knows how long that record will be held? But it speaks to something I think greater too. We look at these people and we easy to say they're crazy, they're mentally ill, and they are. If anyone's going to do things like this, but how crazy are we as a society for not doing anything, for having really little to no safeguards in place whatsoever? to stop these people are making it 100% voluntary. The last person who's going to raise their hand and say I have a problem is usually someone who has a problem. Uh, but we're bordering on here. I don't think we're bordering. I think we've crossed into it far long ago that we must be a little bit crazy as a society if we're cool with this because it just keeps happening.
I mean, it's just it's really such a political issue, you know. Again, I mean, we talked about the gun lobby, how powerful they are. There's many law-abiding citizens that this is very important to them. They're in some way single issue voters. Obviously, the Second Amendment is a big deal to a lot of folks, including a lot of judges. So it's really hard to legislate around this issue, both on the political side of things, particularly in an election year, and because of the very broad view of the Second Amendment that a lot of judges have in the United States.
One that, yeah, we just will go around in circles and everybody can say we're on the same page, and I'm sure we are, but somewhere it gets stopped, and then we're left here. And I'm sure, unfortunately, this will not be the last time we talk about something like this. One just hopes it's further into the future. But judging by our track record here and only in America, it's
Mm.
it doesn't look that way.
Yeah, unfortunately not, Tony. We're going to be talking about this case and others like it for quite some time. This is the reality here in the United States.
Yeah. Hey, it's Tony Brueski. If you want more of our interview with our guests, be sure to check out our podcast, Hitting Killers with Tony Brueski. Just search that wherever you download podcasts and press subscribe. Also, you can check out our YouTube channel for the full video version of the interviews as well, under the same name, Hitting Killers with Tony Brueski. Check it out, subscribe, binge, and enjoy. Thanks for watching.